everyone. Welcome to another episode of Master Race Debaters. I am Gavin Stevens. I'm joined this week by B Black, like every other week. It's episode 10, and we welcome Sam Feldman to the show. Start the podcast off. We talk about freedom of speech, or what I like to call white man sexism, racism, and homophobia. Also, B Black and I review the movie The Green Mile. We rented this one for you, so please appreciate it. And following up, we talk about our last segment. We talk about Nipsey Hussle and everything that's going on with that. I hope you enjoy. A lot of this stuff comes out later than when the news breaks, but it gives us time to give you a perspective on it that we thought out. Anyway, without further ado, here's the episode 10. I hope you enjoy it. Please, if you're listening to this on iTunes, or if you're not, please go to iTunes and give us a rating, a ranking, and a comment. That helps the podcast out so much. We appreciate the love. We appreciate your sharing this podcast and helping us out. So once again, without further ado, here's episode 10.
I was watching, so apparently Faith Goldie, well-known, she's a white supremacist. Like, are we... Because I know
she's full-on alt-right.
Yes.
Yeah. She got fired from Rebel Media for being too alt-right because she went on, like, a Daily Storm or, the super white nationalist website's podcast.
Yeah. And she ran... It's scary because she ran for mayor and she came in third. That's pretty scary. And so she's been banned, and a couple of extreme right... groups have been banned from Facebook, and as per usual, people are screaming about it, about freedom of speech. Usually, the centrist. I have a thing on this podcast where I can't stand centrists, but
yeah, no, I'm with you.
And so there's a lot of centrists going, well, I disagree with what they say, but I feel like blah, blah, I brought you on this podcast because I want to talk about how freedom of speech is like that's the white people's oppression. It's like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's like I don't have anything else, so that's what I got.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you're totally right. I mean, I have a thing about how white people, white people conspiracy theories around how we're oppressed are the best forms of oppression. White genocide is we're fucking too many non-white people. That's a dope way to be genocided.
I always joke about if you have a salad spinner and you're in a genocide, it's a pretty good genocide, man. You're doing okay. I posted something today because there's always a whataboutism with a lot of this stuff, and I posted an article about how the FBI said 10 years ago, and I think it's an old article. I think it might be a year old, but the FBI said 10 years ago that the police have been infiltrated by white nationalists. They've been infiltrated all over across the board. And I posted what about black nationalism? I'm like, oh, you mean the guys in the park? You just don't have to make eye contact. You'll be fine. It's just it's that whataboutism. But I always have these debates with people. I stop having these debates on Facebook with the centrists when they talk about the whole. I disagree, but I feel. Do they have a point? Am I
Well, one thing where I'm I think is, first of all, worth noting with any of that, Richard Spencer, white nationalist who got punched in the head, he was on some live stream where he was with some other super alt-right guy, and the alt-right guy was like, yeah, but we don't actually believe in free speech, right? And Richard Spencer straight up says, no, of course not. We don't want free speech in our ideal society, but we'll use that as a way to convince centrists to support us and be on their side. That is straight up explicitly something that they do. And if you look at a lot of stuff that they do, they don't actually support free speech. I make YouTube videos, and anytime someone makes a video about Anita Sarkeesian, they immediately just get all these people reporting the video for fake stuff just to get it taken down. There's absolutely no parity there. The far right does not actually care about free speech if someone left wing is doing anything that they don't like. or like with Faith Goldie, do you know who her husband is?
No.
I forget his name. He's like straight up, like he's the one who like turned her alt-right, and he's like straight up like terrorist watch list level Nazi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she like hides all like anything about him. I know someone who like was at some like protest thing that Faith Goldie showed up to, and she was like filming it, being like, "Look at Antifa, they're the real fascists." And my friend got up in her face and just started talking about her husband, and she immediately just put her camera down and walked away.
So Jesus Christ! So they've actually infiltrated, because the Overton window has shifted completely with Trump election and what's going on in our country. So they've through people like Jordan Peterson and the idea of freedom of speech and political correctness, they've infiltrated our I guess they've become normalized through freedom of speech.
I think so, yeah.
Jesus,
like, yeah.
That's scary as fuck. So actually deplatforming these people is actually kind of power to them.
I think so. I don't really know where I stand on the deplatforming thing, because I think it's absolutely true that they want, in some cases, to be deplatformed. Like, that's publicity for them. But I don't know. I think that the thing that I tend to come to is like, I don't think that we should be like turning to like censorship in the form of like Facebook taking some videos down, because like we definitely aren't, like, Facebook is not going to be making the right decisions on what to censor and stuff. It, like, I think like saying like men are trash is considered hate speech on Facebook. Like there's so much where that's not something to like support, really. That said, like, I feel like stuff like deplatforming or like more direct forms of action, or like putting more like pressure, like not by like appealing to like a central authority to take stuff down, but instead people just like, hey, we don't want this, like we're protesting this. I feel like that is ideally a better solution.
Well, it's also like Facebook, CBC just did an investigation with Facebook, and apparently they're like breaking human rights violations in this country with jobs. They're like they're not advertising jobs to older people, and it's discrimination. You know how you can pick. So that's, I just heard about that this morning. So like, I mean, like, it's great that you're deplatforming obvious racists, but it's like, and look, I'm really in the camp of, I don't, you know what, shut the fuck up, Nazi. I don't think you should be speaking at all. Like I'm really,
absolutely.
But I mean, there's an insidious thing with corporations, and maybe I'm just so left, but there's an insidious thing with corporations that do the exact same thing that white nationalists do, but under the guise of a fake wokeness or a fake or they've been normalized, and they like this discrimination kind of stuff is or even like Trudeau with with the SNC Lavin, where you have a Native woman who's doing her job, and then you silence her. Which I'm not saying he's the only one that did that shit. I'm just saying. Yeah. He's the party of representation.
Yeah,
and
then or like you saw that footage of him, like some like Native activists like came to like one of his like speeches, and he's like joking as they're being like dragged out by security. Yeah, and stuff.
Exactly, and it's just it's representation for representation. It's not, you really don't want these people for their ideas or their thoughts, and but. But again, I kind of strayed off. But this I guess is, do white people need like a victimhood? Do they need that? Do they need to be like? I mean that sincerely. I'm asking sincerely. It's
I mean, I feel like that is I feel like that appeals to such a deep fantasy, like, because that is I think you're right, like, that is what, like, white people oppression is, or, like, looks like for, like, a white person. It's like, oh, like, I'm gonna be, like, a dangerous truth teller, like, and so, I mean, I mean, I don't know if like we like need it, but like I feel like that is why like that like free speech stuff is so appealing. It's because like, oh yeah, like we all want to be like Lenny Bruce or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of the Lenny Bruce, did you see that it was like an article going around from the Federalist, and every fucking chud comic was posting it.
Oh, I didn't read it. It looked like such a shitty thing.
I skimmed it just so, like, but it's like it's what it is. It's like, oh well, the woke comics are ruining comedy, and it's like, and I'm like, yeah, comics and bookers telling comics they can't talk about shit on stage has been happening since the beginning of fucking time. Like it's been as long as I've been a comic. Comics are reading, and it's just done differently. It's like, well, you can't talk about that on stage, or when you do that, it's like you're a hack, and it's just like controlling other comics' speech. That's just what comics do. Mm-hmm.
No, and like I mean, I feel like it's also like. This is where like I feel like it gets a bit complicated, like with stuff like with the Facebook. Like I feel like curation is also like a form of like expression. Like if like I book a show, if I definitely choose comedians based on like if there's someone who I know is going to say some like fucked up like racist or whatever shit, I don't book them. And it's like I like responding to people who are like, oh yeah, this is like censorship. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's censorship that like SNL doesn't air the sketches that I send them. Like,
could you imagine like just like it's just like throw everything up. It doesn't matter. Like that's the thing is like it's like these same people who complain about this shit in marketplace of free ideas don't give a fuck about the real fucking marketplace of products. It's like I can't put your shitty shit on my stage because the audience doesn't want to see it. Is that censorship?
Yeah.
And then exactly. A lot of comics my age and older are like against PC culture and censorship, and it's just it a lot of the time it's just relevancy. I think it's like I think you've been at the clubs for too long and you just don't know what's happening anymore, and so you're mad at young people for like not liking your shit.
That's definitely such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, I feel like every generation like thinks like the next one like fucking sucks. And so like, I feel like it's such an easy like way of just like, oh, like I don't have to like reflect on like, oh, maybe this stuff that like was normal back like in my day was actually fucked up. It's like, no, these people suck. And yeah. I
watched your Seinfeld video. It was such a great take on that. It was so good that it works. Like, yeah.
Thank you.
Also, Seinfeld, you shouldn't be in universities. Like, it's just not your place. Oh, the poor millionaire. This is my argument. I had an argument with a dude. It's basically kind of what you were saying in the Seinfeld thing. It's like if you looked at comedy on a Tuesday night around the world, like just a Tuesdays around the entire world of comedy shows. Do you know how much censorship is actually happening? Do you know how many people are having a problem with political correctness? It's like barely anything. Like comedy is not dying. It's not dying. It's actually doing way better. And you're listening to billionaires complain about censorship.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no! I mean, like I feel like it sucks too because like that is I think like kind of standing in the way. I mean, I'm definitely in like a pretty like liberal art school kid bubble, but like I have so many friends who like love comedy, like know so much about like comedy and stuff, and would never go to a live show just because they're like, no, like I like watch stuff online because they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to have like some like piece of shit say a bunch of like fucked up stuff to me, you know?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's people that are just like I don't want to go live.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Hey, do you think that's going to kill the business?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the business is definitely changing. Like, I don't know what's going to happen because I feel like there still is a definite like desire for stand-up comedy, maybe more as like watching specials and stuff, but that can't happen if there isn't an audience. Yes. Like, I feel like there always will have to eventually be one, but I don't know how it's going to work because like I feel like now so much stuff is moving onto the internet instead, and yeah.
Huh. So, do you think that I mean, just from a comic perspective, like comedians complaining about censorship and political correctness, it's just what they're witnessing is a movement away from live venues and going like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what's like the cause or which is the effect.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like possibly it's like, oh yeah, like I can definitely find like exactly the type of thing I want way easier, and that goes like in any direction on the internet rather than going to a live show.
I mean, retail's the same thing's happening. Like retail's being killed off because people are like, well, I can go to Amazon and give whatever the fuck I want, and so I don't have to leave my house. Yeah, I don't know. This stuff annoys the fuck out of me because every time I see someone complain about political correctness or censorship, and like Breslin talks about Mark Breslin, he's the owner of Yuck Yucks. They're talking about censorship. I don't know if you want to talk about this if you're like worried about working at Yucks.
I mean, I don't really care.
Okay, so I just it's not bad, but he was like, we don't do censorship here, but you know, Jordan Foisey wasn't allowed to write an article in Vice about the White Guys Matter tour, and it's like that's why I lead to like when I talk to a lot of people like that, it's always like Jordan Peterson, who's like, I'm being censored because I can't call people by the gender I choose to call them by, but then, you know, I'm going to sue a university for fucking slander. It's like, wait a second. It's like this one-sided censorship, this one-sided freedom of speech, and it seems to be like, you know, to uphold white people's pain, I guess.
I think that's a big thing. I also think that like people act like debates are this like magic thing that like oh yeah, the best idea always comes out. It's like it's not how that works.
Well, that's the genius of Nazis. They understand that the marketplace of ideas. Trump, same way, is it's about attention. It's not about right or wrong. It's the attention.
It's like it's like the marketplace of ideas has salesmen too. It's not like about the products, it's about how they're being sold. You know, like there's advertising in the free marketplace of ideas too. And a debate is really good advertising because even if like they don't win a debate, now like is like white genocide a thing is something that's up for debate, and that's a win on its own.
Yeah, it's like race realism, which is eugenics, which was, you know, which is all the same shit that they've been doing since the beginning of time for hundreds of years, is now, you know, it's legitimized. It's like, well, why shouldn't we? Yeah. And it's always like, this is what I notice, is like they always want to debate fucking other people's pain. Like you're supposed to shut the fuck up. Like this Lynn Bayek wants to the episode we just put up today, that Lynn Bayek wants to debate residential schools, and it's like, we should have an open conversation about it. It's like, well, maybe you should talk to the people who went through it, that had to deal with that tragedy, as opposed to you like, well, fuck off, you don't want to talk about it. What are you, censoring me? Like, it's that horseshit I cannot stand.
No, it's such bullshit when, like you're saying, they just want to. Like it's this like dispassionate abstract thing that they have no real access to the implications of it. Yeah, and it's just like
When did the idea of debate, like why are we in a world where everyone wants to debate ideas? It's like everyone's a debate class. Everyone's
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it's such a like liberal fantasy. Like West Wing fucking destroyed how like centrists think. Like there's that fantasy in like West Wing of like, oh, I'm gonna be the smartest guy, and then I'll say this big monologue, and the person, I'm just gonna own them, and then everyone's gonna clap. And like I feel like that's what everyone thinks a debate's gonna be.
Yeah, that's
like no, that's not how that works.
It's like, oh well, why, you know, Nazis are going to play fair in this debate. It's just I've seen centrists, and centrists believe like things like civil rights came from them. They believe that it was from, you know, we had civil debates and then we decided that this was a good thing. They really believe that shit. Like,
totally, yeah.
Yeah, and everything's out of control now, but civility was always, that's what got us forward. It was civility. It's like, no, dude.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It's like people died.
No.
There's cars burned. It's like, yeah.
My favorite thing ever is like the slight, like not even like the like Nazi side of it, but like the like conservative, like light side of like the civility stuff. Like there's so many articles written being like, you know what, your problem is you don't have enough conservative friends. It's like really telling on themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please hang out with me. Come on.
Yeah, that whole like, what the fuck? How come like they're angry that people don't like them? That's basically a lot of that. Why? See, I go to a campus and no one likes me. That's how. That it's like. Well, maybe that's just you.
That's my oppression.
That's my.
That's like all the school shooters and shit too. It's like, oh, like none of the girls wanted like to go out with me, and it's like, yeah, it sucks that you got asked out as a joke to prom, but you don't shoot people because of that. Like,
fucking entitlement. Jesus Christ.
I talk about this in my like last video. I talk about Richard Murray, the guy who wrote The Bell Curve.
Yes,
and there's this video where this guy talks about it, and it's like he's like, oh, just people are saying that like just because he is still really wealthy and influential and powerful and has an amazing job, that means it's okay that people like are saying that he's a racist now and that his reputation is bad. It's like, oh, just because he's faced absolutely no material consequences for his actions, you think it's okay that like
how dare you call him how dare you put any consequences on what he says, like any. That's what kills me is like all these freedom of speech people that are like, you know, the advocates of it are like making great money. They're all like, your speech your speech is what? How is it being? Yeah, I don't know. Fucking Jordan Peterson's, he's making millions a month.
Yeah. Like his Patreon is ridiculous. My theory with Peterson is that he's like he's cashing out right now.
Oh, you think so?
I feel like he can't, like I follow like fascists and stuff on like YouTube. Mm-hmm. I make like left-tube videos, so I watch like left-wing YouTube and really right-wing YouTube, and this is real. All the ads for me on YouTube now are just self-help.
They're broken. They're all broken.
The algorithm's like, there's something so wrong with you.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you, and and all they're mad about is the same culture where like like you said, Anita Sarkeesian, like all these fucking YouTubers are making. Like I jumped off that train. Like I can't watch this shit anymore. I didn't agree with it, but I'm like. Wait a second, and even like there'd be someone like I would agree, and then they'd jump into some sort of like race realism shit, and I'm just like, okay, I'm done. You were talking about religion, now I'm done. Like it just, and then there's like real big, like fucking Andy Zworsky, is that his name? Or there's
who's he?
He's like a Toronto guy, Worski. He was in the podcast with Richard Spencer. I think he was in that podcast. He was hosting the podcast you were talking about.
Oh, true.
And they're just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. There's a lot of idiots who have platforms.
Oh, do you know who the golden one is?
Yes. Oh, he's one of my favorites.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's one of my.
Have you seen his video about Jordan Peterson?
Mm-mm.
He made one about him basically being like, yeah, he's a really good introduction to fascism, but he doesn't go far enough. And like literally all the comments are being like, yeah, more like Jordan Peterstein. But
don't call them racist.
Yeah.
This is like we talk about it, like I did a podcast analyzing Candace Owens's nationalism thing, because everyone's upset that what she said about
Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler. And I'm like, yes, that is bad. That is horribly bad what she said. It's stupid and bad, but everyone's letting her off the hook for being stupid. I'm like, she's trying to normalize nationalism. And when she says nationalism, she talks about birth rates in it. And I'm like, that's white nationalist talking points. When you start talking about birth rates of white people, and that's the real problem. This is how insidious these motherfuckers are. They're really good at this shit.
Yeah.
And I see it.
I mean,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like, they're very, very good at, like, sneaking that stuff in. And I mean, like, the left is, like, nowhere near as, like, good or sophisticated about that. And, like, yeah. Have you ever read that book, Kill All Normies?
Yes, I did, actually. Yeah, I did, with Andrew
there's
Nagel.
Stuff with that yeah. She, like, at points, like, defends, like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Who's like, I hate identity politics too. But, like, she is really right about how she, like, outlines how the, like, alt-right has this really sophisticated, like, media platform. Wait, I think hello? Oh, fuck.
I just lost you.
Hello? Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool. Sorry, my headphones died. I just was, yeah.
That's okay, I got you now.
All right, cool. So yeah, sorry. Candace, like, or Angela Nagel, like, talks about how, the, like, alt-right, they have, like, this whole platform. Like, no one goes into, like, InfoWars through, like, Alex Jones. They have, like phases and phases of, like, working people down. And, like, I don't think there's anything really like that on the left. And it shows.
The Green Mile is a 1999 American film written and directed by Frank Darabont and adapted from Stephen King's 1996 novel of the same name. The film stars Tom Hanks as Paul Edgecombe and Michael Clark Duncan as John Coffey, with supporting roles by David Morse, Bonnie Hunt, and James Cromwell. The film also features Debs Greer in his final film as the older Paul Edgecombe. The film, told in flashback format, tells the story of Paul's life as a death row corrections officer during the U.S. Great Depression and the supernatural events he witnessed. The film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Michael Clark Duncan, Best Sound, and Best Screenplay based on material previously produced or published. So, B Black and I are back with another movie review. This week it's The Green Mile.
Shit.
Yeah, it's Stephen King. It's a Stephen King novel directed by Frank Darabont. Do you remember? He did the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. And
wow!
Yeah, he directed The Walking Dead. I think he also wrote it and produced. But he still got his name attached. He got fired, but he's still attached. So, but yeah, we watched this movie from 1999, and Tom Hanks in his Tom Hanksiness. Good casting.
Good casting.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell and being Sam Rockwell. Anyway.
Sam Rockwell's the guy from Edinburgh. Fuck that movie you don't like, Missouri.
Yeah.
3 Billboard by Missouri.
Outside of Missouri. Yeah, I like him. I think he's a good actor.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So this was a slog for me to get to. I know you were saying. Go ahead. You could say.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay. So Gavin and I nearly had a falling out. Right. I'm minding my own business. He says, "Hey, we need to review Green Mile." I'm like, fuck!
Well, first it was like, I went through a whole bunch of different... Originally it was La La Land, and I got like 10 minutes into that. I was like, I can't. Can't do this shit.
Fuck John Legend, yeah. And then, But okay, so my point is, I saw the movie once, in theaters, actually.
Oh, whoa.
And... yeah, back in the days. Yeah,
Holy shit.
The weird part is I think I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, but I wasn't woke back then.
Well, I was reading an article, because you saw it in the 90s in the theater, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article about, like, 90s racism movie, like the white trope thing. It was like, because that was huge back then, like this. So for you to enjoy it, you were just part of the culture. You were just part of the atmosphere. It makes sense. Right. I read the book. I saw it on TBS. And I was like, I cried at the end of it the first time I saw it.
Word.
Yeah, I did. John Coffey, spelled like the drink, not spelled like the drink.
John Coffey, I know, right?
Oh, fuck.
Hey, you know who John Coffey is? The second time we watch it?
What?
The Black Hodor, but with a more elaborate vocabulary.
Yeah, he is Black Hodor. Original Hodor.
Original Hodor.
You get no credit for it because he's black. He's the Jackie Robinson of Hodor. Jesus Christ. So no, you couldn't finish the movie yesterday.
The second time we watched it, nah, man. Especially John Cole. Ooh, yeah, boss. Oh, come on.
That shit was, look at the star, look at him. I was just like, I was watching it when they did close-ups. I don't know. I was like, oh. and you know he's married to Omarosa in real life, not John Kofi. Michael Clark Duncan was married. He's dead. He's married to Omarosa.
R.I.P.
But
Omarosa.
And then no shit on him. I mean, he got nominated for an Oscar for this, right?
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course he. Like that was the other thing when I read that he got nominated an Oscar, and I'm like, for what? Like anyone can do that. I sure do loves my Chelsea balls. I can do that. Where's my Oscar? Fuck. That's like
throwing some tap dancing and shit. Yeah, man. Yo, can we give this guy some shoes? What the fuck?
He's gonna soft shoe your next scene, Michael Clark.
Holy shit! Yeah, man.
The movie like really needs to play on a heartstring, and you got a big giant black man because basically he gets accused of murdering some kids, and then he goes to the Green Mile, which is death row, and
white girls.
Yeah, two little blonde girls. Those two blonde girls are watching the mice in heaven, and we laughed. Oh fuck! I was like, holy shit!
That's amazing.
I didn't like. I found myself during the execution scene of spoiler alert. 20-year spoiler alert. During the execution scene of John Kofi, I saw the father. I'm like, I know you play racist in other, like hillbilly racist in other movie. I was trying to find reasons why he should be shut down. Like I was like, like I hated him and his daughters were murdered. That's all. I'm like, so part of my brain was like, fuck this guy. And then part of my brain was like, well, he's just there because his daughters were murdered. He's just angry. And I'm like, nah, fuck this racist. Shut up. Anyway, shut him up. Shut up the racist.
Conflicted, yeah.
Yeah, I was conflicted. So yeah, he gets wrongly accused. My take on this movie is I think it's a cuckold movie.
Wow. Break it down.
Well, I didn't think of it. Like, he touched the dude's crotch so he can have sex. Like, John Hanks has, like, some sort of urinary tract that's... Yeah. And he cures his... Which is a weird thing to cure in a movie. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, to bring it up in
right.
the movie.
Yeah, he cures... He grabs his crotch and he... Because John
that
Kofi
was fucked up! Yeah, I remember seeing that the first time. I'm like, dude, you're already in jail for rape. What are you doing? Yeah.
Because you're following along with the plot. You assume he's
exactly.
So like so he has a urinary, and John Kofi's powers is he takes your illness or your whatever, and he puts life into you or makes you better. And so he grabs his crotch and he cures his urine. And the next scene is Tom Hanks going home to have sex with his wife, and he has like 2 days sex with his wife.
Yep.
That was the first red flag. But the biggest red flag,
that's the red flag. Okay, keep going.
Was when he goes to cure the warden. His wife has brain cancer. She has a tumor, and she's dying. And they get him to go over to the warden's house to cure the warden's wife. And he goes in, and the warden's like, "Don't you go in there! Don't you go in!" And he goes upstairs, and she's like. It's a whole bunch of white dudes, and then this white woman on her bed in white.
Yep.
And then he goes in and he kisses her, kind of, and then pulls the disease out of her. And with all these white men, and I'm like, this is a cuckold movie. This is movies about a big giant black man who's just physical and puts life into your. He puts life into you.
So what you're saying, brother? The movie's about the white man's fantasy of seeing the black man.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, that with no irony.
Ravage his woman. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That with no irony. Yes, absolutely. It is. I think it is. I am like, there's too much, like, because they even say he infects you with life, which is another way of saying remember the old man, because Tom Hanks lives forever or lives for a long time. He's an old man in a thing, and he tells the old lady, which I thought was weird, "You're gonna die, and I'm gonna see you die." He's like, he did it to the mouse. When he touched the mouse, and when he touched his dick, when he gave him the powers, he put life inside of him. He infects you. He infects you with life, is what he called it.
Gotcha.
So what's that called when he breed my wife? He breeds us.
He breeds. Wow.
He breeded my wife with life.
Wow. Okay. All right. After the show, I'm going to look up porn parody of the Green Mile.
That sounds so horrible. Dick.
They stuck to the script.
They stuck exactly to the script.
You know what? And to everyone listening to this podcast, judging me, man, I never claim to be he without sin. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah,
right?
that scene where they had sex with the woman with brain cancer, that was hot.
Hey, I remember seeing that scene in the movie theater. Okay, and being worried that he was going to have another episode, and kill the lady. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to the Tom Hanks character for having more faith in John Coffey than me. I'm like, what are you doing, John Coffey? Don't make us look bad, man. Come on, man.
You were right along with everyone. This guy was guilty as fuck.
He's guilty as fuck. No, it's like, yo, come on, man. Don't do this to us, man. I've seen too many surprises. You're already grabbing white dudes' crotches.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what you're going to do to this white lady in her bed.
You got two bloody young blonde girls on your lap.
Jesus, I was scared, and everyone was like, no, trust them.
You were scared. Also, my problem with this movie is, like, he does all this stuff for these people, and then it's just like everyone's let off the hook for the justice system's let off the hook. Everyone, because he wants to die. No. Don't blame yourself for this. But literally, blackness is used in this movie. It's used. The magical Negro is used to solve everyone's problems. Then it was like, okay, so but he's innocent. They know he's innocent. So what do you? Oh well, I guess we still have to kill him. It's gonna suck to kill him. And then black guy's like, no, I want to die because everything's terrible. It all works out. It all works out in the end. It's like
Warden gets to meet his quota.
Yeah, everyone's happy. It's their little secret. That guy we murdered was innocent. Wink. We'll meet up here next year for beers.
The clan doesn't care. One less beer.
It's like, really? They couldn't live with anything? Like, the motherfucker could have been like, you know what? I don't want to die. No, there's too much pain in the world, Bo.
Yo, hey, you read the book, right?
Yes, I did.
And does it go into John Coffey's character? Like, was he like some kind of voodoo doctor? Like, where did his power come from?
It doesn't really say.
Doesn't say?
Yeah, it doesn't really say. And in the book, I think he's much bigger. Yeah, he's super. But I think he's the same invalid kind of dude. Invalid,
okay.
Simple. I just want to be a hair. There was something like, how do you get nominated? Like, sorry, Michael Clark Duncan. Sorry. But for that I'm sorry. It's just glorifying this image of this.
Yeah. The funny enough, while I was watching it yesterday, of course, this thought crossed my mind. Mm-hmm. And for a split second, for a little second, I allowed myself to consider the possibility, wait a minute, maybe I'm underestimating this character.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, because of that dude from, the guy who had like a New Orleans accent, right?
Yes.
Maybe John Coffey is like some kind of voodoo witch doctor.
Yeah.
And that's where his power came from. And he's only in jail because he's letting them. He's allowing them, but if he wanted to, he had the power to destroy, burn the whole motherfucking down if he wanted to. That's what I was telling myself.
But then you'd have to create a character.
Then I have to create a character?
Yeah, like, because at that point, he's just a plot device.
He's just a plot device. Yes, exactly.
So it's like, why create? Yeah, that would be cool. Like, is that how you saw the movie? Is that how you watched it?
The second time, to enjoy watching it, and then that feeling went away. Like, nah, just some nigga gonna kill at the end.
Like, he's got these secret powers and shit.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like he's a mutant with he's got more power than Xavier and all of them combined. And he's just allowed himself to be arrested. And then I said, nah.
I feel like this goes back to what we were talking about in the bonus episode we did 2 weeks ago when we talked about like voodoo and Christianity and that, like, the benevolence of... Yeah. Because they kept mentioning Christianity, too, and And what do I go to say to God? And you tell God that I want it to Dad. It's his beautiful instrument of God. Like, it goes back to that shit of like, oh.
Yeah, man.
And and to be like, to just like, let that man, like, just to be like, to let all those white people off the hook for their system and their bullshit and their Jim Crow laws, because it happened during the Depression, and and exactly, like that's what kills me also about a lot of things are written from a white perspective. Like if they saw a big black man with two dead white girls on his lap, that man would have been lynched up.
You would have been lynched. Yeah,
there's no fucking way he's sitting on, and they're like, well, we'll see what a court process does in the South.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Jim Crow
right.
South. Well, you better have a good lawyer, Blackie. there's no. This is like, well, let due process decide this one. It's just like there's
We're gonna make sure you get a good public defender. Yeah, fuck out of here.
You have the right to remain silent. Oh, duck your head! You're getting in the cop car. They would have thrown a rope around a tree and hung this dude. They would have murdered him. They would have shot him on spot.
Bro, it's funny you bring that up. It's because I had just finished watching Rosewood. And let's string him up. That's it was a common thing, man.
Is Rosewood with Ving Rhames when he's shooting people?
Yep.
Yeah, that movie makes me so fucking happy.
You know what I mean?
When he's shooting people, I'm like, oh my God, I want to see more of that shit.
That's like, there was some badass shit. Shout out to John Singleton for not. I didn't see it before.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the movie before. But yeah, what you just said about Vin Rhames shooting, clapping back.
Fucking
hell
like,
yeah, man.
And he's good, and he's like, he's got agency. I wanted to write I always wanted to write a Batman comic about, like, because they used to have this thing called, I think it was called Year of the Bat, where it was like Batman throughout time, like a Batman in different times, and I wanted to write a Batman one where it was because in the movies, in the Dark Knight movies, they said they used the tunnels to the Batcave as Underground Railroad. So I wanted to write one where part of the Bat family actually came from Africa, and it was like it was a tribe of Africans who worshipped the bat, and so it was a slave near the end of slavery who was who kept the tradition going.
Okay.
And he wasn't a slave because he was a Batman, and he would free slaves as Batman. And that it was based off watching that scene in Rosewood. He was shooting. I was like, what if there was a motherfucker who went after these people like Batman does, like goes after for vengeance for slaves.
Hey, you never heard of Catcher Freeman?
No. Is that
something like that? No, that was some. It's a quick like in the Boondocks. They mentioned that.
Oh yes.
That's the story of Catcher Freeman.
Yes.
That's actually an episode on its own.
Yeah. That's and I started doing research on like slave hunters, and there's this famous white woman that used to be a slave hunter, and I was going to put all this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a pack of slave hunters going after him, and. Yeah, it was just like...
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
How come, slave hunters, they went after...
Yeah, they were like bounty
owners?
hunters, and they would go after slaves, runaway slaves.
Oh, after slaves.
Yeah, they go after
runaway slaves?
So they would have been characters in this... I should still write something like that. It sounds interesting. Anyway.
God damn. Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to this movie. Yeah, they would have... Also, it would happen during Depression... And these motherfuckers, everyone's switching jobs like crazy. Like, I'm just going to get it. I understand the Percy because his family's, I guess, nephew, he's the nephew of someone. But like the guys, after that was my last execution, so we just got a new job. I'm like, it's a goddamn Depression, motherfucker. You don't just get a new job.
You don't get
five dudes just got a new job during the Depression. So
really,
we put our feelers out and got some headhunters, and we all got new jobs. Jesus.
Yeah, they would have made more money getting reward money from him. We caught him.
Yeah.
We caught him. Yeah.
And then when they were killing John Kofi, they were crying and stuff, and I just didn't understand that either.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's. I believe the tradition of owning black people still hasn't gone away. And when I say, okay, sure, you're not purchasing them, but the mindset, like white people still have the same mentality they had as their ancestors who used to own black people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is, okay, sure, you don't say nigga as much as you don't say nigga anymore. You don't do.
They don't.
But looking at black people like you're here to make my life better. You're a support character. You're here to entertain me. You're here to
your background.
Your background, exactly, right? While I worry about the economy and shit like that, you're here to fucking give me a reason to wake up to dance to, and watch hockey games
and at the very
basketball.
Yeah, and at the very least is know your place.
Know your place.
Like know where you belong and shut the fuck. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. If the cops are shooting you, it's because you guys are misbehaving.
And movies like that reinforce that mentality. You know,
that's what I'm getting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it focuses white people's stories with like how many movies have we watched this season that were like this? Excuse me, where it's like white. It's a white. They're taking a black person's story, but made it a white person. Like even the Green Mile, Green Mile was like that, and The Help was like that. Where white people, Mr. Church was like that. White people have focused themselves as the heroes in a black person's story.
Correct. Yeah.
Do they have stories, or have they told all their stories? I don't.
Wait, do white people have their own stories?
Yeah. Do they have stories to tell anymore? Are they out of stories?
They already got it, all right.
Like, I don't. This was the genius of Black Panther. That's why people love Black Panther, because the one white guy was like, it wasn't his story.
I will never forget that part. You know what I mean? You don't get to talk, M'Baku.
Yeah, exactly.
White people are seeing this as, why is he being rude? Well, technically, they don't know him. He's an outsider.
Yeah.
He's, you know what I mean? White people aren't used to be considering themselves as an outsider.
Or maybe they understand the history of white people and they know what people have been through in Africa. And they're just like, fuck this motherfucker. All right, so what kind of rating did you give The Green Mile?
Okay, you know what? Why I gave it? Why I hated it? The whole movie, the John Coffey had me thinking of Eric Garner the whole time. Do you know what I mean? That's how dark the movie is. You know, the big black guy they took down and killed him.
Yeah.
So I gave this movie 2 middle fingers, man.
That's a great point. I didn't put that the way you eloquated that. That was perfect, because that's what I was thinking. The whole time I was thinking about the justice system, and I'm like, this is so fucked that they can't even see that this is exactly. Eric Garner, the justice system, how fucked it is. And even though this is like so cartoonish and so outlandish,
very cartoon,
it's still like you're creating a white person story based on an actual systemic thing, because it's not hard to believe that this black man is in the only imaginary thing is his magical powers. So I gotta give it two middle fingers up.
Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. If you are, do me a favor, go to iTunes right now, leave a comment, leave a rating. It'll help us out so much. Hey, also, if you want to follow us on social media, that'd be great. You can follow us on Twitter at MRD Podcast, on Facebook at Master Race Debaters, and on Instagram at MRD Podcast. We're also on YouTube. If you had comments and suggestions, or just want to drop us and say, hey, fuck you guys, you can email us at masterrdpodcast@gmail.com. Yes, we'll take your emails. We'll respond. Trust me. We got nothing better to do. Anyway, here we go. Without further ado, me and B Black getting back into it.
So, rapper Nipsey Hussle was murdered, 2 weeks ago? This is going to air on, not next week, but the week... No people hearing it. It's aired this week. We recorded it this week. But yes, so a couple weeks ago, Nipsey Hussle, rapper, was shot and murdered in his store. Was it in the store?
In front of his own clothing store, his own business.
In front of his own clothing store. Nipsey Hussle is a rapper that a lot of people liked, and March 31st. March 31st.
Correct. Yeah.
A lot of people admired, and a lot of people looked to as like a leader in the community. From what I understand, I don't know much about Nipsey Hussle. I didn't really listen to his music, but from what I understand, a lot of people, like the Bloods and the Crips and the police, liked him.
Yeah.
He did a lot of community activism. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
on the business, he did shit like Nino Brown would do. You know what I mean? Like no, not Nino Brown.
Like to me, Akon is like that's the greatest you can be.
There we go. I like that. Yeah.
Okay, Akon's like that's the greatest you can be as an artist. Like that's just he's amazing. And then so okay, so he's in that direction.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of conspiracies going on about this, but we can touch on the conspiracies, I think, a little bit later. From what you understand, because you listened to Charlemagne the God about who talked about it. What did he say?
So the guy who killed him, his name is Eric Holder.
Yeah.
And apparently, this motherfucker's pleading not guilty to his crime. But that's here and there. But the story that I heard, the word on the street, quote unquote, is that him and Nipsey got into a dispute. Mm-hmm. And I think that what it is that word was going around saying that he was a snitch, and Nipsey called him on it or said, hey, this is what people are saying about you.
Yeah. Let's be clear on that because if he calling on it, yeah.
But the point is, the guy who shot him didn't like what Nipsey said, left, came back with a gun and shot him. Jesus. You know what I mean? And the thing that gets me about it is that the idea is okay. I got mixed feelings about it, is because the guy who killed him behaved in a way that I listen to rappers to entertain me with.
Yeah.
To entertain, like, Biggie's got a line, it don't take nothing but fronting from me to start bucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the idea that on one end, that shit entertains me.
Yeah.
But when you see the actual consequences of behaviors like that,
yeah.
I feel like a hypocrite going, oh, wow, I hate that happened to him.
Well, I mean, you're kind of touching on respectability politics. I think you're adjacent to it right now. Like that idea of, I hear what you're saying. Like, I always get in arguments with people talking about hip hop and how like it's so damaging to the black community. It's like,
okay, I want to be clear. I'm not talking shit about hip hop.
No. I know. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying that you're like you're like you're right there, but you're not there. Do you know what I mean?
I get you. Yeah.
You're not there, but I'm just connecting it because I can see where you're conflicted. You're conflicted, and I do love this stuff, but that's the thing is like. It's like to look at the black community and go, well, hip hop's destroying the black community. It's like such a myopic way to look at things because it's like, well, we have violent entertainment.
Yeah.
We have stories, and most people can act normal based on stories and violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can act normal. We can. I don't know if it's glorifying violence. I mean, I don't know. I'm an adult. I grew up listening to hip hop. Maybe I grew up differently. Maybe I grew up with better role models or more opportunities.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like we can't start nannying black community because then you're talking down to people. But there's a lot of reasons people get murdered and shot and killed.
Okay. Here, I'll even back up or raise it with this one here, right? The death of Nipsey Hussle made me realize how far we are from a solution to gang violence, right? We speculate a lot about it. We a lot of rap songs are written about it, but we're not really close to a solution. Like there's gonna be more stop the violence.
I'll even take it farther. It shows how far we are from like dealing with economic violence. Like
there we go.
Like it's even like if everyone could make a living wage, how much gang violence do you think we would have? Like seriously.
If everyone can make a
living wage, if people can make a living wage and like provide for their family and blah blah blah, and we weren't like, or we didn't have like a police system that like that over polices and needs to criminalize a black element to make quota. How much gang violence do you think we would have? I think it would be very low. I don't think there'd be that much. If they, I'll put it even further. If we changed the perspective of drugs, and we made drugs legal,
right?
How much gang violence if we made drugs legal, that shit would be gone.
You just made me realize maybe the reason why there is no gang violence is because too many people are profiting from gang violence.
Right. Because what is it based on? It's stealing drugs, right? That's really what it is. It's the profits of drugs. If drugs were legal, if drugs were considered a medical condition and legal, and you can do drugs, but you can get treatment for it. How bad do you think gang violence would be?
You say how bad would gang violence be?
I think
market.
Yeah, I mean, but like seriously, if if you can get your drugs, why would you go to, if you can get your drugs and you can afford your drugs, and then you're treated like it's like if you had health care and it's treated like a fucking medical condition. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many reasons why people are doing stuff or are dying from stuff. And I think, you know, talking about hip hop being problematic or be glorifying violence and destroying the black community is, you know, it's such a minor symptom kind of shit.
I along the same thought. So I think it was after probably another riot after the Michael Brown shooting. There was a riot in Ferguson, or one of the many riots that happened, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I remember being at work and hearing, you know, of course, white dudes speculating on it, and you know, talking about the gang violence in Chicago, the rise of riot, and he finished off, it's just you know, I think it just has to do with the fact that these dudes aren't raised with fathers. Yeah,
that's always the fathers.
And then that prompted me to watch this documentary by PBS, The Interrupters. And it has to do with an organization that actually has boots on the ground in Chicago and that actually deals, like they, you know, when they hear that some violence is about to happen, some kind of fight between gangs, they actually intervene and try to get it to sort these things out. But one of the people involved in this was talking about how violence is a form of disease. Like, we keep looking at it as, okay, bad people are committing violence.
Yeah.
And he says, no, that shit is more complicated. Like, just even what's going on in Palestine and Israel, or anywhere in the world where there's constant violence. You hit them, they hit us, back and forth, right?
Yeah.
At some point, it takes one person to be like, okay, let's stop. No, I'm not going to get revenge. We're just going down but my point is, it's complicated.
Yeah, well, what's in that guy's head? Like, to go, like, someone says, this is why I don't fuck with, like when I remember when I was younger, there was like a big deal of, like, because I grew up upper middle class, and I remember that was like shameful in some of the circles that I would run in. Like, you can't talk about that. Like, you're not supposed to. Like, it was like, it wasn't shameful. It was like it was like a joke. Like, if you were upper middle class and black, and that was like,
right,
and I was like, and now I'm like, I don't give. I'm nerdy as fuck. Because I do not want to deal with horse shit.
Yeah,
I don't want to get in fights. I don't want to get stabbed. I don't want to deal with. I don't want to have to prove my manhood to you. If you don't think I'm a man, cool. If you don't think I'm black enough, awesome. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I just don't want to deal with it.
Yo, exactly. So when hip hop, okay, and this is the part that gets me, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, right? But sometimes I feel like me as a black Canadian, born from parents who immigrated here into this country, right? I interpret hip hop the same way these white kids from the suburbs.
Yo.
Sorry, I was interpreting in the past hip hop the same way these white kids, you know, with nice lives. Interpreted hip hop, and then all of a sudden they start wearing their hats on sideways to mimic the culture, completely not realizing, these stories of violence that these guys are rapping about, they're actually sad. It's not nothing to be like happy about. Like, what these guys are rapping about is how I survived it in spite of.
You really you I look at rappers now that talk about that stuff. Yeah, I was like you. I was exactly like you. But I look at them like there's an intelligence in that shit. Like, just like it's super smart, it's super intelligent, and it's like you're talking about your survival in an economic system that's designed to destroy you. Like, you can't get ahead in that shit. And it's like, wow, that's that. I see why like guys. Like, men and women in the hip hop industry who blow up from their communities when they're like, oh, they're describing my fucking situation.
Yep.
They're describing where I'm from, and I also understand why, like, it's important to be real in hip hop and like, and to claim you're from the street, or not all hip hop. I like how hip hop's changed, but a lot of hip hop is like, you're from this hood, you're from the street, and these are the people you know, and because that's what you're representing, that's what you're talking about. I get it.
Yeah.
But I also think we gotta separate like that. Like, there's fuck. Like, I can't even.
One of the piece of we read it was on the Root and the Roots. TheRoot.com.
Yeah,
and it talks about how the title goes Nipsey Hussle, homophobia and toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
right. So, and again, I'm not talking ill of the dead.
What was the
Nipsey Hussle was
homophobia?
not a perfect human being. You know what I mean?
What was the homophobia? I guess he must have.
Yeah, no. So he's got a line where he talks about how I'm not sure, but he's known for saying things like for being homophobic, for saying homophobic shit. Like if I had a friend, I was gonna say who was gay, or actually just a friend who says, "Yo, I can't listen to this guy because of his homophobic views."
Mm-hmm.
I would not disagree with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would not. Okay. Here, all right. Let's listen to something else. But I'm not saying that, hey, everyone should have them in his tape deck. So yeah, he wasn't a perfect human being. He, some of his fans were people who don't say the smartest things about when it comes to homosexuality. Actually, I think they're repressing their
Yes.
But like I said, the guy who killed him, he was behaving in a way that usually entertains me.
Yeah.
And imagine a world where the guy was able to articulate his feelings to Nipsey and say, "Yo, I didn't like what you said, what you're saying, I'm leaving." As opposed to, fucking conflict resolution skills, I'm going to use a gun.
Let me go grab my. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's toxic masculinity. Like the very idea that we're talking about homophobia and toxic masculinity makes us in toxic masculinity, quote unquote pussies, right? Like that makes us 90% of our podcast is like people going, "Look at these cucks." And that's toxic. So there's a trap in it, right? So you gotta fucking, the tougher you are and the more. I remember, and it's not a black or white thing. This is just fucking dudes who are confused on their sexuality. I don't mean like confused whether they're gay or not. They're just not sure. They understand one binary way to represent themselves as a man, and it happens here. I mean, I used to get in arguments with people saying faggot, and it's like, don't tell me what to say. I'm like, well, you're a homophobe. You keep saying that shit. You're a homophobe. No, I mean it like this. It's like, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And it's like you're oversensitive. And it's like, no, you need to look at yourself and understand why you're saying that stuff. You're saying faggot as a negative thing, and yes, what you're saying, being gay, is a negative thing. And when you joke about, or you're joking about being gay, and that's the buddy you're joking about being, you're dehumanizing gay people.
Yeah, there's a recent story about some I guess a trans woman who was murdered.
Yeah.
And I understand, like I'm starting to understand the people who are saying, "Yo, you guys keep saying these transphobic shit, causing people to, it's okay to dehumanize trans people.
Yep.
So when they die, it's tolerable. Like I get it. Like, one, I'm realizing that the conversations that I have on this podcast is not the conversation that I usually have in the barbershop.
You can't.
Because I'm surrounded by ultra masculine dudes who are like, "Hey, I ain't trying to hear that." Well, okay, I'm prejudging. Maybe maybe there are a few people who would like to have that kind of conversation.
There's also generational shit in that too, right? Like,
and then there's general shit.
Yeah, there's all that
dudes.
shit. Yeah,
yeah, old Christian dudes who are trying to hear that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. There, but no. So they'll say a lot of disrespectful, dehumanizing things about the LGBTQ community.
Yeah,
and they won't see how that relates to the violence that they have to put up with. And things like that. I guess what I'm you know what? If I have to point to this conversation is the whole idea of, I'm saying we need to do better. I need to do better. But, I want to avoid saying we, but I need to do better in terms of speaking up. You know what I mean? Say, hey,
well,
homosexuals are human beings.
Also, it's like the environment thing. It's like, taxing people, the working people to help the environment was like, well, 70% of the environmental problems is from corporations, right? Like from 5 companies. It's like you're talking about this guy who got a gun. How does he have access to a gun? Like
Bang.
like if you had stricter gun regulations, and this has been proven in stats that suicides would go down, gun violence would go down. Like there's so many things wrong with this other than just respectability politics. And I know.
Yeah.
And even
that's why I avoided saying we need to do better, because I feel like being part of the respectability.
I'm like getting into like what your coworker was talking about, like after the riots, it's like, well, we're the fathers. It's like, okay, we'll just take that a step further. Why are there no fathers?
Yeah,
and you can only go in two directions. Either it's going to be white supremacy that you give me, or you're going to go deeper and go, okay, why are there no fathers in the house? I remember getting an argument with a dude who's like, oh, it's a lack of fathers, and he posted Larry Elder, the black conservative.
Of course you did, yeah.
And I'm like, well, do you know what redlining is? So what's redlining? And I'm like, if Larry Elder is talking about economic problems in the black community and doesn't mention redlining to you, he's lying to you.
There we go. Yeah.
He's lying to you, because that has to be part of the conversation. If he says it, then yeah, maybe he's talking some shit, some truth. But if they don't mention like real government policy that kept black people out of wealth, then they're lying to you. So that's what I'm saying is, like, if there's no nuance, if everything happens in a vacuum where you can just pull out your argument, well, there's no black fathers. I'm like, that's too simple of an idea.
Yeah. Some people like to maintain the idea that, look, we white people have our shit together.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't have the same problems that these black folks are having.
It's also sexist. It's also misogynist, because now you're putting the burden on fucking single mothers. Like, they don't have it tough enough. And you're like, because a father's not in the household, a single mother must be blamed for this shit. It's like,
must be blamed for that.
Go fuck yourself. Like, what is this fucking puritanical? I know this is twice in this podcast I said this, but what are you, this church shit where you're just like,
you know what I mean?
Oh, fucking.
I like the idea of and it's a new thing. I think I'm doing is being able to see the I love the movie Sense8, but being able to see the world through someone else's eyes.
Empathy.
Oh, we go.
Yeah.
Empathy. Yeah, that's a big
empathy. Yeah.
Mess with you. Yeah, seeing the world through, and I'm not saying doing some kind of charity, but I'm just saying, like me realizing that, like, I can't see the world through the eyes of Nipsey Hussle or the guy who shot him.
Jesus.
Because it goes back to what I was saying, that I realize we're not close to a solution. There's a lot I don't understand about gang violence. I'm only able to speculate, and that's why it's hard for me. Like, I'm empathizing with the idea that some kids join gangs because in their neighborhood it's a form of survival.
They don't even have a choice. Sometimes you don't even have a choice. I look at some of the,
avoid being in the gang, but you're gonna get your ass kicked on a regular basis.
Dude, I would get shot. I would be murdered so quickly. Like, when I came to Hamilton, I didn't know you can't call people goof. That's like a prison insult.
Oh wow!
If you call someone a goof in this city, you'll get killed.
Really?
Yeah, that's like serious shit.
Interesting.
See, I don't know this shit. Like, I don't know how to survive in I'm poor, but I don't know how to survive in a poor neighborhood because I grew up upper middle class. So I don't know how to make my way through it. Like,
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Like
exactly.
To me, like, going up to a dude and going, hey, you know what? People are calling you a snitch would be a normal thing to be like, hey, as a friend, I'm letting you know. This motherfucker would be like, what did this dude say to me?
Yo, what was funny is we were talking about during the days of what's offensive and what's not offensive.
Yeah.
I grew up with the idea that you disrespect the wrong person, you can lose your life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that.
If a Crip says, hey, don't wear that red shit around me if I don't know you, whatever, right? You respect the fuck out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's my right.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Bang,
bang, bang.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
Well, it's your right, and then you get murdered.
You get murdered. Like, that's what, you respect people because you may lose your life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is that's what makes me like. I'm like this is the panic I get. Like, I'm hearing stories like this. I'm like, what the fuck if I'm in that situation? I don't know who I'm talking to, and I'm like being honest with you, and I'm trying to treat you like an adult. That's the thing about this toxic masculinity. It's like, oh, you don't want me to treat you like an adult. You just want me to.
Yeah,
you're so fragile as a human being. You can't. Who's calling me a snitch? Well, that's some terrible shit.
Yeah,
those people need to deal with their business.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I mean, like, also, like, if you think about it, being called a snitch can get you killed.
Yep.
Right? Like, so now you're, like, I watch enough of The Wire. If you're
The Wire, yeah. You don't want that label on you.
Yeah, because like in dude's defense, not to defend him, not to play devil's advocate, but like he gets a snitch, he's got a target on his back.
Yeah.
What does he have to do? Like, and then if Nipsey Hussle's calling saying, "Hey, people are calling you a snitch" in front of a whole bunch of people, then a whole bunch of people just think he's a snitch now. So he's got to go it's like you're right. It's like this. It's this perpetual machine. It just keeps feeding itself.
I'm starting to stop believing in free will because I'm thinking about. I'm like, I felt like writing. You know, was Nipsey Hussle's murder a tragedy or was it business as usual?
It's business as usual.
That's what and that's what makes it sad. Like the system needs to be broken.
So how do you help out in a like you got to be on the ground helping out?
That's what I'm getting at exactly.
But do you think, I'm not trying to blame Nipsey Hussle for anything, but how do you separate yourself from that kind of violence while helping out?
Do you know what I mean, I admire that. I mean,
yeah.
You know, didn't I was gonna say Gundy, but no, he's on a clean record. But I mean, the revolutionaries who hang around with the people,
yeah.
You know what I mean, who eat with the people. I mean,
yeah.
You know, that's really brave of them. That's really a faith in humanity that some of us don't have.
Some of us.
You know what I mean? I mean, I can see myself being, you know, I want to help.
I'll throw some money. I'll do a podcast.
Exactly, the poor people in Haiti, but I'm going to do it from here. You know what I mean?
I want to do it from here.
Here, accept my check.
Yeah. Yeah, Puerto Rico. I'm doing it from here. I'm doing the best I can from here. I can't. I got it. I'm sorry. White people stuff is
you know what I mean? I'm like,
this is what I'm saying. This is what we get mad at fucking white people for like not fighting against white supremacy, but we can't even let it go. Like, it's so fucking comfortable. It's like the most. It's like oh my god, it's so comfortable to be in white supremacy.
Do you know what I mean?
It's nice.
Yo, I was looking at exactly the tragic death of Nipsey the same way white people dealing with racism. Yeah. It's like, you know, we could go back to the usual thoughts and prayer. This is awful, yeah. Fight evil and shit like that. But the truth is, fuck, you're going to have boots on the ground to figure this out.
Seriously, what kind of coffee shops do they have in that neighborhood? Sorry, man. Do you have artisanal pizza? Can't be there.
You know what I mean?
It's shameful shit. Absolutely shameful shit.
Yeah. I'm just saying, the road is, we've come a long way, but we still have a lot to go.
It's, it's sad that we lost someone. It's sad that we lost someone that was trying to do good.
This so positive too, and you know, I mean, you know, give and take.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in.
Let me ask you, in terms of hip hop, has your views changed on Macklemore?
On people like Macklemore?
Yeah.
More like there's other white rappers. There's this one white rapper who Macklemore seems like he's more knowledgeable of stuff.
Yeah, I used to hate Macklemore, and then I noticed Talib was like defending the fuck out of him.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah.
And then I started following him. I'm like, oh, he talks about some good shit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I hate white rappers who use the N-word and say, well, what can I say? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't understand the culture.
Yeah. You're just dressing up in it.
You're just dressing up in it. You're just taking advantage, being an opportunist, profiting from it.
Yeah, until you become an adult, like Miley Cyrus shit. Like that shit, that's normal white. Yeah. Like that, I know she's not a rapper, but like she's all in it and she's all trying to be ratchet and trying to be all this shit. And, and then all of a sudden, it's like, well, now I'm an adult and I got to put that childish stuff away. And it's like, motherfucker.
Yeah. No, that annoys me. No, those the rappers who, I'm picking on the white rappers, but I think I respect Eminem.
Yeah.
In there, just because he never said the N-word. Ain't that a bitch? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
expectation, but I feel like he comes in. I respect the culture. I wipe my feet
Yeah.
at the door. I'm not here. Like, I'm listening as opposed to, this is, I believe, the way things should be.
I'm blacker than you. That kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, we went a little bit over, but I thought this was a good conversation.
R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Let's hope for a brighter future, I guess.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for.
That's all we can.
This was we ended on this. That was a real downer the way we ended this episode. All we can hope for is a brighter future. We both know it's not.
You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you.
You know, when you said brighter future, all I pictured was a giant robot foot stepping on a human skull. And like, and then just like, it's the beginning of the Terminator. That's all I pictured.
Hey.
That's our future.